mode.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Stelmack, and welcome to today's webinar. Our topic for today is Timekeeping Made Easy using SharePoint and EPM Live. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First of all, your GoToWebinar panel has a question and answer section. You can submit your questions throughout the presentation as they come up. And the questions and answers are moderated by Matt Wilson, who's also from EPM Live and on the line. And we will be able to answer those questions once we complete with the presentation part of the webinar. Because of the amount of attendees, we have not opened up the voice lines so that we can get through as many questions as we can. So please go ahead and submit these, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website shortly after we complete it, and we'll give you instructions on how to access it. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the topic. We're going to cover a few concepts around timekeeping and why it's important, and then the second part of the webinar will focus on the tools that we provide to enable timekeeping and make it easy and easily adoptable by your organization. So what I'd like to start with is to talk about what timekeeping is and really think and ask the question of why we would track time, right? Why we would make people do a timesheet, why would things like that happen. So to start with, I just kind of looked at my calendar for a week, and this is just a snapshot, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with being overbooked, double booked, triple booked, and the question really is, when do we track all of this, and how do we track all of this? There's all sorts of activities that we're constantly involved with that range from meetings and activities, project work, etc. So how do we keep track of all of it? And if we do, what does it mean, and how would we use that information to our benefit? So to kind of continue on that path, we basically know that there is work happening throughout the organization. We're working on projects, we're resolving issues, we have various action items, we attend meetings, we're working on deliverables. There's all these things that are constantly happening in the organization. And what we try to do as kind of a step towards making it a bit more organized and understandable is we try to understand what makes up the work week, right? And try to kind of compartmentalize all of these various activities into high-level buckets, and then we can figure out what to do with those buckets from there in terms of tracking them and understanding them. So if we look at a regular work week, generally we see things divided into these four major categories. And there is some overlap sometimes, but in general, we have project work, so things that are related to any projects, whether they're major initiatives that span the entire organization or maybe smaller efforts that might be part of our team or our department. And these start and end, and we have various tasks happening throughout the life cycle of the project. The next bucket is operations. This is what we call keeping the lights on, or keeping the business going. We're maintaining existing systems. We have recurring processes and activities that happen every day or every week or every month that we participate in that also take up our time. We also have administrative work, right, or another word for it would be overhead. Things like email, attending staff meetings, attending company meetings, going to training, attending off-site team building events, etc. All of these things are part of our work day or work week. They have to be done. We spend time on them. They do go into making up the work week. And then the last category is things that we do outside of work, but potentially impact our demand or availability to do work. Things like holidays, vacation, and sick time. So all of that makes up any average work week and depending on the role and where you are in the organization, one bucket will probably look bigger than the others. But the challenge is, how do we look at this from a holistic perspective and see if we can get visibility into everything that makes up the week and use it to our advantage and help us manage the business more effectively and efficiently. So the biggest problem with the fact that work is different in nature is that in a typical organization, things are stored in different systems, and work is being managed using different systems. For example, we might have a project management system where we track our tasks, our issues, changes and actions. We might have an application management system where we have an inventory of our applications and also manage the application development life cycle. We might have another application that helps us manage our service desk requests and operational work. We might have others as well. Maybe we don't even have computer systems for these. Maybe we're using offline Excel spreadsheets, Microsoft project files, or maybe even a whiteboard. So the problem is, all of this is disconnected. All of this is coming from, at us from different directions and angles. And understanding and getting visibility into things across the entire spectrum of work is really very difficult without having it all in a central place. So if we could get it to work right, and if we could accomplish a solution where everything is centrally stored, we could actually start to take steps towards keeping track of it, capturing effort that we're spending on it, and that could yield a whole set of benefits to our organization. So if we could get to a point where we can get to effective timekeeping, where everything is in one system, we get quite a bit of benefit out of it. The first and quite important one is visibility. Right? If we capture the effort and the time that's being spent on various activities, we can understand where the business is spending our time, understand what the cost is of running the business and where the money is going, and really being able to make informed decisions based on that information. If we have visibility into costs, we can make decisions on costs, whether to cut them or increase them or reappropriate them. We can get better at estimating. If we understand what an effort has taken in the past or a particular activity, by analyzing our history that we've captured, we can actually improve our future estimate and refine it as we go. Also, if we're keeping track of actual spend, we can compare it and analyze it against a budget that we've initially allocated to a particular effort and understand whether we're estimating right and understand if we're in trouble financially or in terms of human resource investments on any particular effort. If we manage payroll, we can use timesheet data for efficient payroll processing. We can also track non-working time, overtime, or holiday pay as part of our payroll process. If the business does invoicing, we can use timesheet data to invoice clients. This is very common in service-oriented businesses where we need to keep track of all the billable work as well as non-billable work to understand what goes where. And we can also enable internal chargeback models with timesheets. So in a larger organization, potentially if IT is a service organization that needs to charge back the hours to a particular business unit, then keeping track of that effort is going to be critical in order for us to have an effective chargeback process. The last and not least here is there are various compliance and government regulations that we have to follow and be in compliance with. So time tracking can help us stay in compliance and also can help us out in cases of being audited by the government or other agencies where we have a history of things that have transpired in the organization and can go back in time and look at that. So these are some of the benefits of effective timekeeping, and they show that there is definitely value in implementing that in most organizations. So that's all great. We know that there are benefits, we also know that it's tough to get there. So let's look at some ways that we can get there. And what I'd like to do is start by presenting how the EPM Live solution can help us with implementing effective timekeeping and really reaping the benefits that we just listed on the previous slide. So to talk a little bit about the solution, EPM Live is a SharePoint-based application that basically uses the Microsoft SharePoint platform as its foundation. And then if we go back and take a look at all of the potential activities that we have going on in the organization, so tasks, projects, application work, issues, etc., what we do is we basically build applications or solutions that help us capture and track and manage all of these work features. So we have applications that support project and portfolio management. We have features that let you manage product application development life cycles and agile type projects. And we have service management options for managing operational work, as well as managing service desk and help desk type requests. So all of that results in capabilities that are delivered in EPM Live. So all these applications deliver portfolio management capabilities, work management capabilities, resource, financial management, time management, and business intelligence, which basically ties it all together in a reporting framework. Today's focus of today's webinar is going to be on time management. So while we have all these other features available, today we will talk specifically about time management, although we do need some, or in some cases all of those other pieces in place in order for time management to be effective. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and why that is. So how exactly do we accomplish the ability to manage and track all work? Well, what we do, again, is we take SharePoint as the platform for our solution, and leveraging the fact that we can use various SharePoint sites or workspaces, we can accommodate various types of work in the system. We can have projects that follow various different methodologies. We can have agile projects or PMI projects. We also have service management capabilities where we can manage operational work and similar things. And we bring it all together in what we call a top-level site that basically allows us to go to one place and get reporting across the entire spectrum of all of our work, as well as also enable us to get visibility into that work and provide progress on it as part of the timekeeping solution that's part of the EPM Live. So again, the focus of today is time management, but EPM Live in general offers all of these other features. And we do have webinars available for pretty much all of these, and you can visit our website for more detail on any one of these. But as part of a comprehensive project and portfolio management system, the time management component is one of those features. So let's talk a little bit in more detail about the time management features of EPM Live and what we provide you with in terms of tools and functionality. Really, the key part here is an actual timesheet that's that's part of a comprehensive timekeeping solution that lets us report and track time-phased actual work on any SharePoint work item. And we say any item, we really mean that. We're talking about tasks. We can do this on action items, on issues, on operational activities, on things that are part of our agile methodology delivery, such as backlog items or user stories or just general development tasks. We can report time on non-work categories. We can split time into billable or non-billable or categorize it by any other defined ways. So it's basically a comprehensive, complete timekeeping solution that lets you capture and track all work, the entire work week in one system. So to get a little bit more into the detail, here's an example of a timesheet. And as you can see here, we have some rows that call out the fact that we had a doctor appointment and went on holiday for a couple of days in the week. We have some operational activities here that we're tracking from our service request module, and we also are reporting time on project work. And basically the layout of the timesheet is meant to be very intuitive and very user-friendly. It's completely web-based, so as a user logs on, they're taken to the timesheet. All of the assignments that they have for that particular time period are automatically shown in the timesheet. They can see what the start and the due date is for a particular item, what its status is. They can report % complete on the item, as well as enter the hours into the grid on the right-hand side of the screen. Also, there is a % work spent indicator that tells the resource whether they're within the estimated hours for a particular effort or over it. So it's a real easy screen that kind of encapsulates all of the things that you might need to report progress or report time spent on any particular item that you might be working on throughout your work week. So to get into more details, how do we do this? How do we accomplish the ability to capture time spent on any item? Well, as we mentioned before, we have various types of work that we can track using EPM Live. Here's an example of an issue screen, and you will note that in the tool, most areas that you go to and most items that you manage will have a checkbox that's called timesheet. And by checking the box, we can specify whether this particular item is something that we want people to track in a timesheet. So as we go through and we create and manage various items and we assign resources to them, then we can check the box if we want to track it on a timesheet, and that item will automatically appear on the timesheet for that particular resource who was assigned to it. So we can do this with issues. As I mentioned before, we can do it with service requests. Notice that here's a service request screen. Looks very similar to the issue. The interface is consistent throughout. And again, we have a timesheet checkbox here that can enable us to track time on a service request. To get into more detail, into more of the project side of things, we have an online work planner where you're able to build a task list and build a work breakdown structure. We can specify durations, start and finish dates, work estimates. We can assign people to the tasks. And then notice the last column there is, again, we have the timesheet column with the checkboxes, and we can choose to mark all of the tasks to be available on the timesheet, or perhaps we just want to track some of them, and we have the control for which ones those are by simply going in and checking the box next to the task that we want to track on a timesheet. We also provide an Agile planner, which is an online tool that helps us manage backlogs and releases as part of our Agile methodology. Again, in a similar fashion, if we have developers working through backlog items and development tasks that we want to track on a timesheet, we simply come in there, check the box, and it's now available for them to track on a timesheet. Because EPM Live has full integration with Microsoft Project, the desktop application, we also provide integration with that with our timesheet. So similarly to how we would do this online, in Microsoft Project, we have a flag that we call timesheet. And when a project manager switches that flag to a yes and publishes the project to EPM Live, then those particular tasks appear on the assignee's timesheet as well. Also note the timesheet hours column, which is basically the data going the other way back into the schedule to inform the project manager of timesheet hours reported. So as the project manager opens the project after timesheets have been submitted, they're able to see how many timesheet hours have been applied towards a particular activity within the schedule. The other thing we offer here for those organizations that are more service-oriented and more transactional, where people are working on a large amount of requests every day and maybe don't have time or don't have the bandwidth to keep track of every little one to go put into a timesheet at the end of the week, they can actually enter timesheet hours directly into the service request without even having to go to a timesheet. So here is an example of a service request, an issue with a printer. You can see here that by clicking on it, I can put in the work that I spent on the item. It's also giving me a quick bar here that tells me how many hours I have left compared to the planned hours for this item. And I can report my timesheet hours using this interface without having to aggregate it all at the end of the week. Also, as part of a complete timekeeping solution, we have various approvals that are possible. For example, when somebody submits a timesheet, and if we have approvals enabled, which is a setting in the system, the approval or the timesheet first goes to the project manager to review and approve those tasks that are related to the projects that they manage. So as people submit time towards projects, the project managers can get visibility into that and approve or reject the hours. Once the project manager has signed off on the project part of the work, the department manager can then take the entire timesheet that may contain items beyond just project work, things like non-work, holiday or sick time, as well as operational work. And they have a view of their entire department, as this bottom part of the slide shows. And they can go in and first of all see whether the project manager has approved the work for the project, and then overall be able to see how much time was spent on which items, and then be able to approve the timesheets as well as lock the timesheet period so no further editing can be done. And this is obviously critical to make sure that we preserve the data integrity of the timesheet actuals that have been put into the system so that we can always come back into the past, rely on that information during audits or historical analysis. So dual approvals, and again, they can be enabled or disabled, and that's just a feature of the tool. We also offer out-of-the-box native timesheet reporting, and that consists of various interfaces. The most popular way to report on timesheet hours is to use our pre-built Excel-based timesheet analyzer report, where we basically have various reports that show us timesheet actuals by project. Here is an example where by project I'm able to come in here and see which resource spent how many hours on a particular effort. Everything is time-phased, so we can pick the time period that we're looking at here, and everything is summed up and aggregated automatically to the top. Because this is all Excel-based, we have basically an unlimited amount of possibilities in terms of reporting on the information from a graphical perspective. So if we need to come up with a report for management or to put on a PowerPoint presentation, we can easily come into the same Excel report and build various charts and graphs off of the data that we have. If we need a pie chart to show how the work breaks down between projects, we can do that. We can have comparisons of estimated work versus how much was actually done, and then really try to understand how well we did to estimate a particular effort. And we can come in here and look at things by role, for example, to see how effort is split up between the various roles we have in the system. Basically, there is an endless amount of possibilities here in terms of what we're able to report on, and we'll take a look at some of that. From an administration and control perspective, we have a very flexible administrative console that lets us control and configure the timekeeping solution. For example, we can define various daily and weekly limits to enforce minimum or maximum amounts of time that people can report in a particular day or week, as well as which days of the week we would like to have people report time on. You can define your own timesheet periods, whether they're weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, daily, whatever the right cadence is. You're able to come in and define those periods for your organization, where you define what the first day of the week is, what the last day of the week is, etc. We can also control which items we want to keep track of on the timesheet. So we can say if we only want to track tasks, or maybe we only want to track operational work, or maybe we want to track everything in the tool, and that's something that we're able to do. And as I mentioned before, we have an administrative console that lets us approve and lock timesheet periods so that no further editing can be done. And that's built into your timesheet process on a regular basis, where timesheets are submitted, reviewed, and approved by project and resource managers. And then an administrator goes in at the end of the timesheet period where all of the data has been submitted and makes sure that it's locked. Also, right from the timesheet, management can communicate with their team by using a send email button. So if they need to send out a reminder to those who have not submitted the timesheet yet, or just in general communicate about any issues with the timesheet, they can do that right out of the tool, and the email integrates seamlessly with the email client that they have default on their machine. So that's a bit on the administration and control. Also, from an end-user perspective, we have manuals and help built in right into the tool, right into the timesheet. So a user, when they're first entering the timesheet and starting to use it, can use the Getting Started tab that always appears on the right-hand side of the screen. And basically from there, they have access to online tutorials, to the manual for the timesheet, to the user guides, so they can get to right from the web browser window without having to search around for information. So this really helps in terms of user adoption and just overall training of the people that will be using the timesheet. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do is show you a little bit of the live tool and how it works. We've covered a few concepts and some things around why it's important and valuable to have timekeeping in place in the organization. And what I'd like to do now is actually show you the tool and show you some ways that we accomplish easy and straightforward timekeeping. So what I'd like to start with is just give you a brief overview of the interface of the tool. Here we've logged into the EPM Live Work Engine solution, and when I first log in, I'm presented with a dashboard of information that's relevant to my projects and my assignments. So the top part here is showing me the projects that I'm currently managing as a project manager. The bottom part shows me the assignments that I have in the tool overall. You will notice here that I'm assigned to some service requests, so more of the operational work. I have some tasks. I also am on point to work through some issues here as well. So basically, it's a screen that lets me gain visibility into everything that I have on my plate. What I'd like to do now is zoom in a little bit on a particular project so we can take a look at how a project manager or a functional manager would manage access and manage timesheet buckets or items. So we'll pick one project here called Matrix Marketing Event, and I'll just click into the project to get to the project workspace, which is basically the collaboration area, where as a project manager, I'm able to manage the project schedule for this item. I'm also able to manage issues, documents, discussions, and run reports on this particular effort. So from here, what I can do is edit the plan for this project, and this particular project was built using our online project planner, which is completely web-based and 100% online. And as we've seen before here, as I expand this here, what I'm able to do in order to open up a particular task for timekeeping, I just assign a resource to a particular task, and then I come over here and check this timesheet box here. So now the logistic task for this particular project is assigned to Steve Masters, and when Steve opens his timesheet, because this box is checked, that task will automatically appear on his timesheet. And similarly, I can just go through here and go through my resource assignments. I can assign multiple individuals to a task if I choose to. And again, by coming in here and checking the box, both Brian and Jack will see this particular task in their timesheet. So it is as easy as that. And of course, I can choose to check all of these and have the entire project be reportable in the timesheet and track progress through that. So that's an example of how a project manager or a resource manager would open up an item for timekeeping. Another thing that we're able to do here with virtually any item in that's part of the project is mark those for timekeeping as well. So if I take a look at an issues log here for this particular project, and I open up an issue, as I scroll down, I see various details that I can track as part of this issue. And of course, we see the timesheet checkbox, which is basically something that we check if we want this particular item to be available in the timesheet. So now I can see here that this particular issue is assigned to Steve and Adam. Both Steve and Adam are now able to report timesheet actuals on this particular issue using their timesheet. And again, the issue will automatically show up in their timesheet when they open it next time for the next reporting period. So it's basically as easy as that to mark any item in the tool for timekeeping. You will find that if you go to a risk log or an action log or a change log, every item will have a similar timesheet checkbox that we're able to leverage and mark items for timekeeping. What I'd like to do now is show you the actual timesheet and take a look at more of a resource view of things. So I'll go back out to the top here and click on timesheet from the top level menu. And basically I'm presented with my timesheet. So here I am able to see on the left by project, for those things that are related to a project, what I have on my plate for this particular week. I can see here the time period that I'm looking at right now. I can also access past or future timesheets by dropping this down or by using the navigation arrows. And I can see the work type. So I see here that I have a service request, I have a change, tasks, and an issue. I can see start and due date information as well as whether these particular items have been started or not, or in progress or completed. I see % complete, and then finally I get the grid that I can just use to enter the hours in. The grid works basically just like Excel, and I can just come in here and start plugging things away. So as I know what I'm reporting on, I can just come in and plug the hours in. If I need to report time on anything that's non-project or non-work specific, I can always come here and pull up the menu of non-work items that I've defined. These are something that you can define as part of your configuration that are based on your standard buckets of non-work. Let's say we had a holiday that I took for half a day on Monday. I can just come in here and add the line, say 4 hours, and I'm done. The system automatically totals up every day and the entire work week, as well as every item. And then in the last column here, % work spend, is showing me how well I'm doing against the forecast for this particular item. I can save the timesheet. So if I am disciplined and I'm doing a timesheet every day, I can come in here, update it for the day, click save, then come back to it the next day, edit it, click save again, and all my changes will be saved. When I'm ready at the end of the week to submit it, I click the submit button, and basically at that point the timesheet is saved and submitted to my manager for approval. If approvals are enabled, basically what that would look like is the project manager would see a screen like this where they would show a project, a resource, and the task that was submitted on timesheet for approval. I can see the hours that were submitted for every day for that particular timesheet period, the total, as well as the overall status. And then at that point, I can mark the item here, and I can say approve or reject. If I approve it, at that point, it'll be flagged as approved and go on to the resource manager. If I reject it, it'll be flagged as well, and the resource will be notified of that, of the fact that the item was rejected. On the resource management side, as a department manager, I can come in as well into the timesheet approvals for the department. You automatically, or rather when we set up a resource, we designate who their timesheet approver is. So anybody who's designated as a timesheet approver will see the resources that they're responsible for reviewing and approving the timesheets on. And here I'm able to see that Adam has submitted a timesheet. I can drill in here to see the detail behind every item and how many hours have been submitted, along with overall status. And again, I'm able to reject it, communicate back to Adam about his particular timesheet, approve it, and lock it for the period. So that's part of the approval process for the project manager and the resource manager. There is also the ability to have timesheets be approved automatically, and the data would be basically fed directly into reports as the timesheets are submitted. So if that's something that's preferable, that's certainly something that can be set up in the organization. Okay, and the next piece I would like to cover is the reporting piece of this. So EPM Live offers a comprehensive report center that consists of a variety of pre-built, pre-packaged reports. As you can see here, just some examples of it. And as I mentioned, one of the popular timesheet reports is the Timesheet Analyzer, which is basically an Excel-based report. It leverages Excel services. So for those of you who are fans of the web-based approach, you can come in here and basically navigate the spreadsheet using the web browser, all built in without Excel, and you're able to interact with the data here without necessarily opening Excel. We can also actually export and open the same report into Excel and basically have the same information, but now have it saved locally. And this is basically a pivot table that we're now able to work with in any way that we like. So we have a whole set of fields here on the right that we're able to choose from to display in the report. We can filter, we can collapse various information or expand it, and basically drill down into any level of detail that we need here, as well as apply a variety of filters here for this particular report. If we would like to do any kind of reporting in terms of graphics, we can basically come in here, and if we're familiar with Excel reporting, then this becomes very simple in terms of formatting the report or making it look like what we want. So if we need to break down by time by project and the percentage of that for a particular timesheet period, we simply come in here and do a pie chart. If we want to change it to maybe a bar graph, we can easily do that and just format it to clean it up however we want. And here we have by reporting period and by resource time spent on each project. Again, because this is already local and part of our Excel, we can then easily paste this into PowerPoint, save it off and email it, etc. Of course, this is all dynamic, and we can interact with the data by simply dragging around the fields inside the pivot. So if I just want to see things by resource, I'm able to easily do that. If I want to introduce other items here like project or type or anything else, I have a whole variety here that I can choose from to make these reports and format them in any way that I like. So that's just one example of how reporting can be done. We have a variety of other reports available as well. The tabs here are pre-built for us, so I can look at the same view, but now look at it by resource and how many hours have been submitted. The less than 40 hours can show me a report where timesheets might be in progress but have not hit a 40-hour or whatever standard work week might be. And that can help me determine which timesheets have not been submitted yet. I can also come in here and look at the non-project view of the world and see what's been submitted in terms of service requests, non-work, etc. And then for those of us who like to have all the details behind the data, we have a data dump spreadsheet here that would allow you to pivot and build your own reports in any fashion that you like. Obviously, because this is Excel, it's all very easily modified to suit your specific needs. The solution is built in a way that makes it most flexible and configurable out of the box without necessarily having to do any coding or custom development. So with that, that was a brief introduction of how EPM Live can support the various timekeeping scenarios that you might have in the organization. What I'd like to talk about really quickly is the fact that our solution is offered online and in a hosted environment. So you can leverage the capabilities today and basically get beyond just the time management features, all of these other features like work management, portfolio management, cost management, and resource management. Also, for those of you that might have SharePoint already in-house, Work Engine basically gets installed right into the SharePoint environment as it's a SharePoint-based tool, and you can migrate between the online environment and the on-premise environment anytime. The configuration and the data are completely portable and can be migrated between hosted and on-premise for maximum flexibility. For more information on any content of this webinar, as well as our tools in general, you can visit our website at www.epmlive.com. As I mentioned before, this webinar is going to be recorded and posted to our website shortly. We also have a whole series that are already up there that were recorded in the past, as well as many webinars coming up on various topics and capabilities that our tools have, specifically around resource management, project management, and portfolio management. So be sure to check out the link and sign up for webinars that we have coming up. Also on our website, you can sign up for a free trial of our software by clicking the free trial button on the upper right-hand corner, and you can actually test drive the products for yourselves by signing up and getting into how the tools work and how they can add value to your organization. To thank you for attending today's webinar, we'd like to offer you a free license of Project Publisher, which is a tool that we provide that lets you publish your Microsoft project schedules to SharePoint. So if you go to the link specified on this slide and use the discount code PROJPRO, you can get your free copy of the license, and basically the publisher will allow you to integrate Microsoft Project with our SharePoint-based solutions. You can publish your projects to SharePoint and synchronize the data between SharePoint and Microsoft Project. I'd like to thank you for your time, and what I'd like to do now is open up the floor. I believe we have some questions coming in. So Matt, if you're still on, if you could help us with those and maybe read them out, and we'll try to answer them.
Absolutely, Michael. All right, so the first question in the Q&A panel is, what category are the timesheet reports under in the available reports?
Sure. So it might depend on the version of the tool that you're currently on. But if you're on our latest build of the tool, I believe the category is going to be projects. Now let me just verify that. The one I have accessed is under project. We might have some others. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some under resource as well. The project is the one I accessed. If you have the previous version of our tool in the report center, then there might be a dedicated section that's called Timesheet Reports that you're able to access.
Okay, next question, Michael, if you're ready.
Yep.
following on to the first question, are these reports out of the box?
Yes. So great question. Everything I've showed in this demonstration is out of the box and pre-built and comes with the solution. So the way Work Engine is built is that when it's installed, it already comes preloaded with all of the reports, all of the data fields, and all of the configuration that you've seen. So we offer, I think, at least 50 or 60 out-of-the-box reports, out of which some are targeted specifically towards timekeeping. And then, of course, because they're built using standard Microsoft platforms like Excel services reporting or SQL Server reporting services, you can easily modify them to suit your specific needs.
Okay, great. Let's see, there's a few other questions. One is regarding the project publisher link and discount code. So, Michael, will there be, do you know if there's usually a follow-up email that includes that information? I know that we do send out a link to the recording. However, I'm not quite sure about the project publisher. Do you know how that's handled?
I don't, but as we'll definitely send a follow-up email, and we'll make sure to include the instructions into the email for the project publisher.
Okay, and I can work with you on that, Michael.
Okay, sounds good.
And then one question regarding one of the attendees actually has the newest version of the tool. Is there anything special that needs to be done in order for those reports to be viewable or enabled? Because it appears that this particular user doesn't necessarily see them in their version of the product, and or maybe it might be maybe a permissions thing. So could you talk to that a little bit?
It could be a permissions thing. The report should be there. So without taking a look in more detail, I don't want to speculate here, but let's make sure to follow up with that particular individual after the session here, and we can take a look at the issue, and I'm sure we can resolve it quickly, but the report should be available.
Definitely. We'll take that one offline. And as far as asking questions, please feel free to use the Q&A panel on the GoToMeeting control panel. Yeah, we're coming up on the hour here, Michael. I don't see further questions.
Okay. Unless there are other questions, with that we can wrap up. Again, as I mentioned, this recording of this webinar will be posted to our website shortly. We will also follow up about the project publisher, and if we've captured the name of the individual who was not seeing the report in their report center, we can follow up on that as well and see if we can get that report to show up for you. If you have any additional questions and would like to reach out to me directly or to us in general, you can reach me at the information that's presented here on the slide. And certainly, again, visit our website for more webinar recordings, as well as to sign up for a free trial if you're interested. I thank everybody for your time. Unless there are any more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
I think we're good, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you, Michael.
Day.